The phone buzzed violently at 3:12 a.m., and Emily's trembling hand reached for it, her heart hammering as if it already knew. The screen glowed with one cruel line. "We need to talk." She whispered, "Daniel, no, not like this." The silence after pressing call was unbearable, each ring cutting deeper until voicemail swallowed her desperation. She sat up, clutching the phone against her chest, eyes burning with betrayal she couldn't yet name. Around her, his photos lined the nightstand, smiling versions of a man now too far away to reach. Emily whispered again, "Please, don't let this be real." But the room felt colder, the weight of oceans heavier, and her heart screamed what her lips could not. She was already losing him. The storm had begun with no warning, and she was left gasping in the dark. Emily sat frozen, replaying the message again and again, as if the words would change. Her breath came shallow, her voice cracked. "Daniel, please pick up." The call rang endlessly, each tone a cruel reminder of his absence. She pressed her palm over her pounding heart, eyes darting to his smiling face in the photos by her bed. He seemed so close there, so reachable, yet the silence across the ocean screamed louder than her prayers. "Why now?" she whispered, gripping the phone tighter, fingernails digging into her skin. She wanted to believe it was nothing, maybe exhaustion, maybe stress, but deep down she knew this was the beginning of the end. The clock ticked with unbearable precision, mocking her with every passing second. "Why?" Emily whispered. "You promised forever," her words trembling in the dark. She pressed his photo flat against her chest, as though warmth could travel back through paper. But his silence grew louder, swallowing her memories whole. She imagined him laughing somewhere, unaware of the storm raging inside her. Jealousy stabbed cruelly at her, and yet love begged her to wait, to believe in him. She asked herself if she was foolish or devoted, but the answer felt blurred. Her heart knew one truth only: losing him would be like losing air. Her phone buzzed again, but it wasn't him. It was a friend's casual message, piercing her fragile hope. Emily slammed it face down, whispering, "Not now." The cruel irony twisted deeper. The one person she needed was the one who refused to answer. She stared at the shadows on her ceiling, every corner seeming darker, heavier. "Daniel, where are you?" Her whisper trembled, breaking into a sob. The room shrank around her, filled with echoes of the laughter they once shared. She wanted to run to him, break the distance, undo the silence, but all she had was cold air and unanswered calls. Emily rose slowly, pacing barefoot across the wooden floor. Each step echoed louder than the silence on the line. Her eyes fell again on his smiling photo, and rage flared against the helpless love still consuming her. She whispered, "You don't get to leave me like this." But the distance mocked her, untouchable and cruel. She pressed the phone flat to the wall as if forcing the call through miles of space. The truth burned inside her chest. Tonight was the first time she realized she might already be replaced. Her knees buckled, but she stood firm, clinging to hope even as it cut her. Morning light spilled across Emily's room, but her body felt heavy with the weight of unanswered calls. She scrolled through old messages, rereading every "I love you" as if they were lifelines. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "You were worth every sleepless night." Her chest ached remembering birthdays spent staring at glowing screens, waiting for his voice across time zones. Friends called her foolish, but she believed love could cross oceans. The distance was brutal, but so was the thought of life without him. Each sacrifice felt justified, until the silence grew louder than his promises. Emily stared at her calendar, dates marked with red hearts for every visit that never happened. She whispered, "I canceled everything for you." Her mind replayed the job offer she once refused, choosing love instead of a career. Her family had warned her, their voices stern with disbelief, but she silenced them all with stubborn faith. "They don't know us," she once told Daniel, certain he was her forever. Now those sacrifices weighed heavy, pressing against her ribs like chains. She wanted to believe they weren't wasted, that his promises were still true, but fear gnawed at her resolve. In the quiet of her kitchen, Emily brewed coffee in silence, hands trembling as steam rose. The aroma brought memories of late-night calls, when they drank together over video screens, pretending the miles didn't exist. She whispered, "It felt real then." She leaned against the counter, scrolling through their photos, Daniel's smile frozen in time, while hers had faded into exhaustion. Each small routine they once shared was now an echo, and she carried it alone. The emptiness carved into her chest reminded her that love across distance wasn't just longing, it was living half a life. Later that day, Emily sat with her best friend Sarah, who watched her unravel with a heavy sigh. Sarah said, "You've given him everything, and he's giving you silence." Emily shook her head, tears forming. "He loves me, he has to." But Sarah's eyes carried the truth Emily feared. Her devotion had become her prison. The words stung, but Emily pushed them away, gripping her phone tighter, as if love itself lived in her palm. Denial was safer than admitting she might be alone. She whispered, "I can't let go. Not yet." Hope was her only shield. As evening fell, Emily sat alone on her balcony, staring at the fading sunset. The city hummed beneath her, but she felt like a ghost above it all. She whispered, "Everything I've done was for you, Daniel." The sky shifted from gold to blue, and loneliness tightened around her like a noose. She thought of the nights she stayed awake until dawn, waiting for his call, only to collapse from exhaustion at work. Sacrifice had become her rhythm, love her only language. But as the stars appeared, she felt a terrifying thought rise. What if he never asked her to wait? Emily's phone lay on the table, screen glowing with unanswered messages. She had sent 3 today, each met with silence. She whispered, "Daniel, why won't you answer me?" The hum of her empty apartment grew unbearable. She tapped out another message, her thumb shaking. "Are you okay?" Still, no reply. Doubt gnawed at her, eating away at the certainty she once wore like armor. She thought of the promises he had made, the words carved into her heart, and now each felt like paper dissolving in rain. Every second stretched into hours, and her hope thinned against the silence. Later that night, she scrolled through Daniel's social media, her heart racing as photos of new faces filled the screen. He smiled in a group shot, arm around someone she didn't know. "Who is she?" Emily whispered, her stomach twisting. Jealousy cut sharp and deep, sharper than the miles that separated them. Her breath came fast, chest heavy, as suspicion spread like wildfire through her veins. She wanted to believe it was innocent, but every detail burned her eyes. Silence was cruel, but his smile beside another woman felt like betrayal written in light. She closed her eyes, trembling. The next morning, Emily tried calling again. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Please answer, Daniel." Each ring dragged her deeper into despair. Finally, his voicemail clicked in, and she heard his recorded voice, warm and familiar, yet cruel in its absence. She whispered to the silence, "Why are you shutting me out?" Her reflection in the mirror looked like a stranger, eyes hollow, cheeks pale. She had built her life around waiting for him, and now it felt like she was waiting for a ghost. Her chest ached with questions that never reached his ears. By evening, Emily's best friend Sarah returned, finding her slumped on the couch. Sarah said, "He's breaking you, Em. This isn't love anymore." Emily shook her head, clinging to her phone like it was oxygen. "He needs me. He's just busy," she whispered, but her voice cracked under the weight of denial. Sarah placed a hand on her shoulder, eyes heavy with concern. The silence stretched between them, filled with truths Emily refused to face. Sarah's sigh was soft, but final. "You're losing yourself waiting for someone who's already gone." Emily's tears spilled faster, yet she refused to let go. That night, Emily stood by her window, staring at the city lights. The glass was cold beneath her fingertips as she whispered, "Why does distance feel like punishment?" Her heart pounded, imagining Daniel's world without her. Laughter she couldn't hear, moments she couldn't touch. Fear seeped into her veins, more suffocating than the silence. She pressed her forehead to the glass, wishing she could cross oceans with a single breath. In her chest, love battled suspicion, hope against dread, but each unanswered call tipped the balance. The city outside glowed alive, while she withered in its shadow. Emily's phone buzzed with a new notification, her pulse spiking as if her body already knew the truth waiting inside. She unlocked it, breath uneven, and read the message from a mutual friend. "Did you know Daniel's been seeing someone?" Her hands froze, and her heart pounded so loud it drowned the silence of the room. She whispered, "No, it can't be true." Her vision blurred as she scrolled down to see the photo attached. There was Daniel, smiling wide, his arm wrapped tightly around the same woman she had noticed before. His face was alive with warmth she hadn't seen in months. The betrayal landed like glass shattering inside her chest. Every sacrifice, every lonely night, every whispered prayer, all undone in a single image. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "How could you?" The photo burned in her hand, proof that she was no longer his only one. Emily's breath came fast as she hurled the phone onto the bed, pacing her bedroom with clenched fists. "After everything I gave up for you," she cried, voice breaking under the weight of fury and heartbreak. Her body shook as her mind replayed the sacrifices. The job offer she turned down, the friendships she let slip away, the countless nights of exhaustion waiting for his call. Each choice carved her devotion deeper, but now it all felt like a cruel joke. She stopped suddenly, grabbing one of his framed photos from the nightstand. Daniel's smiling face stared back, mocking her. Her tears blurred the glass as she whispered, "Was I ever enough?" The air in the room felt suffocating, as if the walls themselves knew the truth before she did. Rage and heartbreak twisted together, leaving her trembling, stranded between love and fury, her chest too tight to breathe. Her hands shook as she dialed Daniel's number again, tears falling so fast she could barely see the screen. The ringing stretched endlessly, until finally his voice filled her ear. "Emily," he said, calm, almost cold. Her breath caught, throat tightening. "So it's true?" she stammered, her words sharp, desperate. "You replaced me?" The silence that followed was heavier than any scream. She heard him inhale, slow, deliberate, before answering softly, "I didn't want you to find out this way. I didn't mean to hurt you, but I can't do this anymore." His words cut deeper than a knife. Her hand slid down the wall as her body slumped against it, chest caving in. "You were my everything," she whispered, voice breaking like glass. The line clicked, empty, final. He was gone, and the silence that followed felt like death itself. Emily collapsed onto the floor, her body folding as if her strength had been ripped away. She clutched her chest, trying to hold the pieces of her breaking heart together. Around her, framed photos of Daniel scattered across the floor, glass cracking as they fell from the nightstand in her desperate movements. "I gave you everything," she sobbed, rocking back and forth, voice raw. Memories flashed across her mind, his laughter in their late-night calls, his whispered promises of forever, his words that once felt like oxygen. Now, each memory stabbed like a blade, twisting inside her chest. Her cries filled the empty room, echoing against bare walls, the sound of love destroyed. She was surrounded by fragments of a life she built, but none of it could reach him anymore. Alone in the ruins, she became the ghost of her own devotion. Hours passed, but Emily did not move. The darkness deepened, swallowing the room, until the faint glow of her phone lay like a cruel reminder beside her. Her body was numb, her voice hollow as she whispered, "I built my life around you, and you built yours without me." The truth pressed into her bones with unbearable weight. Every sacrifice she had made, every tear shed, every moment of waiting, all worthless now. She stared at the phone, daring it to light up, hoping against reason for a message that would undo everything. But the silence was final, unrelenting. Her chest felt carved empty, her spirit shattered beyond repair. She was left holding nothing but memories that had turned to ash. Her love had ended not with a goodbye, but with the cruel reality of being replaced. And the night closed in, sealing her heartbreak forever. Emily stared at her screen, fingers trembling as she typed a single line. "I deserve the truth." Within minutes, her phone lit up. Daniel was calling. Her breath caught as she answered, voice raw with anger. "How long, Daniel? How long have you lied?" His sigh on the other end felt colder than any winter. "It wasn't supposed to happen this way." Emily's voice cracked into a scream. "You promised me forever, and I wasted my life waiting for scraps of your love." Her words tumbled out. Fury and grief twisted together. Silence followed, heavier than steel. Daniel's voice came through the speaker, heavy with guilt but lacking the fire she longed for. "I didn't mean to hurt you, Emily. I just drifted." Her body stiffened, hands shaking. "Drifted," she shouted. "You let me drown while you found comfort in someone else." She pressed her hand against her chest as though her heart might shatter through her ribs. Daniel stayed quiet, his silence confirming what she feared most. "Say it," she demanded. "Say you don't love me anymore." He whispered, "I can't give you what you want." The words struck like knives, leaving her breathless. Emily staggered to the window, city lights flickering below as tears blurred her vision. "You let me build my world around you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I gave you everything, Daniel, everything." Her body trembled as she pressed her forehead against the glass. On the other end, Daniel's voice wavered. "I didn't ask you to." Her knees nearly buckled. "You didn't stop me either," she cried. "You let me believe we were forever while you built a life without me." Her sobs broke into shallow gasps, and she realized no words could heal what had already been destroyed. Daniel's voice hardened. "I couldn't keep living a lie, Emily." She felt her body collapse inward. "A lie?" she whispered, fury burning beneath her grief. "You were my truth. Every day, every sacrifice, every dream was for you." Her voice rose, breaking like shattered glass. "How dare you call that a lie?" She slammed her hand against the wall, pain jolting through her palm, but she didn't care. Her voice lowered, trembling. "I loved you more than my own life, and you treated me like a placeholder." His silence was the loudest betrayal of all, filling the night. Emily's voice dropped to a whisper, sharp and hollow. "Tell me one thing, Daniel. Was I ever enough?" On the line, Daniel hesitated, then exhaled. "You were, but not anymore." Her body froze, her world crumbling in a single confession. Tears poured down, but no scream followed, only silence. She felt the floor tilt beneath her, as if gravity itself had betrayed her. "Then this is goodbye," she whispered, her words like ash. The call ended with a click, final and merciless. She dropped the phone, staring at the lifeless screen, her chest hollow. Forever had just ended. The morning sun crept into Emily's room, streaks of gold spilling across the wreckage of her night. She sat on the floor, body heavy, arms wrapped loosely around her knees, eyes fixed on the phone that had once carried his voice. It lay lifeless on the carpet, screen black, as if mocking her with its silence. She whispered, "It's really over," the words breaking in her throat. Slowly, she reached for the scattered photographs, cradling them in her lap. Daniel's frozen smile stared up at her, once her anchor, now a cruel reminder of love undone. Her tears fell quietly, soaking into the glass, each drop blurring his face until he vanished into smudged colors. She wanted to scream, to fight, to undo what had shattered, but all she could do was rock in silence, the weight of finality pressing into her chest. Outside, the world moved forward, but she was still trapped in yesterday. Emily drifted through her apartment like a ghost, each step slow, dragging. Every corner carried a memory. The couch where she laughed into late-night calls, the kitchen counter where coffee had steamed while he told her he loved her through a screen. She paused by the nightstand, her fingers brushing over the empty space where his framed photo once stood. Her chest constricted, breath shallow, as if the absence itself was alive and crushing her. She whispered to the walls, "This place is full of him." The air was heavy with dust and regret, suffocating in its stillness. She pressed her palm against the wall, eyes closed, a sob breaking free as her knees threatened to buckle. "How do I live in the spaces he no longer fills?" she whispered again. But the room answered only with silence, amplifying her grief until it rang in her ears. Later, Emily sat slumped at her kitchen table, shoulders curved inward, face pale. Sarah sat across from her, eyes filled with quiet worry. For a long time neither spoke, until Sarah finally said, "You have to let him go, Em. He doesn't deserve you." Emily's lips parted, but her voice came out as a whisper, fragile and trembling. "But I don't know how to be without him." Her chest rose and fell in ragged breaths. Sarah reached across the table, grasping her hand tightly, grounding her in a way she hadn't felt in weeks. "You already are," Sarah said softly. "Every tear you've shed proves you're stronger than you think." Emily's vision blurred again, her tears spilling as she tried to hold on to the truth her friend was offering. She wanted to believe it, but the hollow inside her chest felt endless. Still, Sarah's presence kept her from disappearing into the void. That evening, Emily stepped onto her balcony, the night air cool against her skin. The city sprawled beneath her, alive with light and sound, while she stood frozen in its shadow. Her hair lifted gently in the wind, brushing across her tear-streaked face. She whispered into the night, "You're free now, Daniel. And so am I." The words tasted strange, bitter, sharp, but carrying a small spark of release. Her hand tightened around her phone, lifting it toward the railing. For a moment she imagined throwing it, watching it vanish into the blur of lights below. Her grip shook, torn between anger and sorrow. Slowly, she lowered it, placing it carefully on the railing as though laying a piece of him to rest. Her lungs filled with air that felt different, heavier yet cleaner, like a first step she didn't know she could take. Emily returned inside, her body aching from exhaustion, but her spirit quieter than before. She sat on her bed, no longer clutching the phone, just her own hands folded tightly together in her lap. The silence pressed around her, but it was no longer suffocating. It was heavy, yes, but it was hers alone. She whispered, "He's gone, but I'm still here." The words fell softly, fragile yet steady. She repeated them until they began to sink in, reshaping the space around her. Her chest still throbbed with loss, her eyes still burned from tears, but deep within, a tiny ember glowed. It was faint, but it was hers, proof that something survived. Tomorrow wouldn't fix her, but it would come, and she would rise to meet it. For the first time in months, she felt the possibility of moving forward, even if she had to take each step alone. The night was quiet, but Emily could not sleep. She sat by her window, the city glowing far below, her reflection fractured by streaks of dried tears. She whispered, "Love wasn't supposed to end like this." Her chest tightened with every heartbeat, each one echoing emptiness. The phone rested on the sill beside her, its dark screen a mirror of her silence. She reached for it, thumb hovering, tempted to type his name one last time. But her hand fell away, heavy with the truth. He was gone. No message could resurrect what he had buried. She was left holding shadows. Emily gathered Daniel's photos, her fingers shaking as she placed them in a small box. Each picture was a memory she once clung to. His laugh, his smile, his warmth. Now each felt like a blade, cutting deeper with every glance. She whispered, "You don't belong here anymore." Her tears blurred the edges as she shut the lid firmly, sealing away what had already been taken from her. The sound of the closing box echoed in the silence, louder than any cry. Her breath hitched, her body trembling, but she didn't open it again. For once she let him go. She carried the box to her closet, tucking it away behind a stack of books. Her knees weakened as she crouched, and she whispered, "You'll never haunt me here." Rising slowly, she pressed her hand against the door, shutting it gently. Her body trembled, but her breath steadied, each inhale pulling her further from him. The room was quieter now, stripped of his presence, though his absence still burned. She looked around at the space that once felt shared, now entirely her own. The emptiness was painful, but also sharp with truth. For the first time, she faced her life without him. Later, Emily walked barefoot across the balcony, the cool wind wrapping around her. The stars shimmered faintly above, distant and unreachable. She whispered into the night, "I don't know who I am without you, but I'll learn." Her tears traced silent paths down her cheeks, but they no longer drowned her. Instead, they carried pieces of her grief away. She leaned against the railing, feeling the hum of the world below, life continuing without pause. Her chest still ached, but her lungs filled with fragile air. She realized the pain would not vanish, but neither would her strength to endure it. Emily returned to her bed, body heavy but calmer, her phone lying silent beside her. She stared at the screen for a long time, waiting for his name to appear, though she knew it never would. The silence pressed in, but this time she did not break. She whispered, "This is the last night you'll haunt me." Her voice was steady, carrying the finality she had feared for so long. She turned off the lamp, letting the darkness fold around her. The phone screen stayed black, untouched, and as her eyes closed, a truth carved itself into her soul. That was the last time his name ever lit up her phone.